A pleasant good morning to you, our viewers watching from Saint Lucia, residents in Saint Lucia, as well as our viewers outside of Saint Lucia in the diaspora, our Saint Lucians abroad, as well-wishers as we go through this time of stabilization and recovery in Saint Lucia due to the effects of COVID-19. We have quite a packed schedule for this morning. We do hope you will stay tuned for the duration of the program. Today is Wednesday, the 24th of June 2020, and yesterday we saw the delivery of the budget address for 2020-2021 delivered by the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance. We have quite a few fortuitous disclosures that he revealed in his address yesterday. We will be getting into a few of these this morning. Also, we have an advisory, a statement coming out of the Ministry of Health with regard to the Saharan dust, the plume of Saharan dust that is affecting our neck of the woods here in St. Lucia and the wider region, as well as a word from the Ministry of Education as we count down to the common entrance examinations, and finally an update on the St. Jude's Hospital. As you would have heard from the government of St. Lucia, we are 70% complete, and this project has provided quite a number of jobs for our St. Lucians at this critical time. So do stay tuned for these updates. Later today will be the hosting of the government of St. Lucia hosting the official funeral service for the late Joyce Auguste, and that will be held from 2 p.m. at the Minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception. The funeral service will be simulcast. We will provide you with information as usual, as we've been doing from yesterday, on the other churches that it will be aired at as well. So stay tuned for these updates coming up in just a moment. Carlton, I'm joined in studio as usual by my colleague Carlton. Good morning to you, sir.
Bonjour Jesse, bonjour Saint Lucia, puis vous ka suivre nous là sur social media, vous ka écouter nous sur radio, nous ka dire bonjour ba ou n'importe côté ou ka tendre voix nous et puis ka ver nous toujours en plaisir. Nous ici en centre Camad là, ça c'est headquarters là, côté nous ka ba ou information et puis développement especially là ni pour faire Covid et pas rien qui a affecté nous en pays. Nous ka de aujourd'hui c'est le 24 juin et nous ka apprécier présence ka wete et ka supporter nous nan chay pour ba ou bon matin développement expressement parmi yo ou ka savent lay ni pour faire puis premier ministre là ka délivrer budget ka concite parmi l'autre bagay nous ka parler nous ni parole et information ka sorti hod ministre éducation avec ministre santé expressement pour santé lay ni pour faire puis la poussière ka sorti la Saharan et puis parmi l'autre bagay nous ka discuter plus détail là vini pour l'état Joyce Auguste ça a pris coup hier vous voyez ça nous quand maintenant activité ça qu'on y a pris coup et parmi l'autre quand nous a apprécié avec nous cadeau merci à soit mercredi et bon matin qu'on nous essaie ba développement et information ici à headquarters GIS NTN. Merci tellement.
Thanks for that, Carlton. You would have noticed we're starting at 9:30 this morning. Apologies for the late start. We're just dealing with some logistics matters this morning. Do stay tuned. On the other end of this first break, we have the latest updates coming from the government of St. Lucia, starting with the parliamentary proceedings yesterday, the budget address 2020-2021. Stay tuned.
It's easy to become afraid during a disease outbreak, especially a pandemic. How can I catch it? Who already has it? How do I stay safe? How can I keep my family safe? Uncertainty can lead us to reject or to be afraid of people affected by COVID-19. It's normal that we feel worried. But sticking with the facts on how to prevent COVID-19 from spreading and what to do if you encounter symptoms is our best defense. Rejecting or fearing people can cause them to hide their symptoms. It discourages people from practicing preventive behaviors like wearing masks and physical distancing. It can even stop people from seeking healthcare. Ultimately, this means the disease is harder to diagnose, treat, and contain. So how can we overcome fear and stigma to help the fight against COVID-19? Words matter. Talk to and about people affected by the virus with respect. Spread the facts. Practice and share the recommendations endorsed by your health authorities. Be kind and look after each other. Check in on your family, friends, and neighbors. Offer support where you can. Have you seen social stigma happening in your community? How did you respond? Tell us in the comments below.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, a special good morning to you. This morning, we're taking a look back at the parliamentary proceedings yesterday, 23rd June, where the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Alan Chasney, did deliver the appropriation bill for 2020-2021, that is the budget address. And as you would have known from the estimates of expenditure presented back in April, the budget for the fiscal year 2020-2021 is set at $1.697 billion and represents a 6.6 or $105 million increase over the approved estimates of 2019-2020. The total revenue that has been generated from taxes in the last year is $924.92 million. And that represents a shortfall over the performance in the preceding year of 51.1 million or 4.1%. Including grants from the friendly governments and multilateral institutions, the Prime Minister does anticipate that this figure will become 1.126 billion in total. The current recurrent expenditure, stands at 1.36 billion and accounts for 80.2% of the budget for 2020-2021, while the capital expenditure for the fiscal year stands at 335.39 million, which accounts for 19% of the total budget, and that over the allocation of the previous fiscal year 2019-2020. So please take note of this backdrop information in terms of the financing of the budget. Sources of funding includes recurrent revenue, 1.019 billion, comprising tax revenue and non-tax revenue. The tax revenue is 924.92 million, and $94.59 million. And so a little bit of information in terms of the financing of the budget, the source of the funding, and so on, to give you an understanding of where the monies are coming from to finance this year's projects of the current administration. The Prime Minister yesterday did indicate that a lot of what would be happening this year is economic recovery due to the onset of COVID-19. The effects of COVID-19 were overwhelming, and as such, the government of Saint Lucia devised an economic recovery and resilience plan. And part of this effort is stimulating the economy. The Honorable Prime Minister yesterday did indicate that there would be provision of US $3.1 million repurposed from the Climate Adaptation Fund to provide blended loan and grant assistance ranging from $5,000 to $25,000 to micro and small enterprises with a focus on food security and digital technologies. And this will be provided through the Saint Lucia Development Bank and will benefit between 1,200 and 1,500 enterprises. So also the provision of low-cost financing to meet working capital requirements of small to micro enterprises affected by the COVID-19 effects. This, Mr. Speaker, he indicated will also be administered by the Saint Lucia Development Bank. An allocation of $5 million has been made toward this initiative, which is expected to benefit 350 people. So here we're seeing an effort to stimulate the economy, and that being made by the government of Saint Lucia in response to the COVID-19 situation, us recovering economic-wise from it. We go to our first clip from the morning. For the morning, the Honorable Prime Minister speaking on some efforts to stimulate the economy for benefits for property owners as well as business owners as well. Take a listen.
A 50% waiver of commercial property taxes for the period 2019 to 2020 to landlords who extend moratoriums of a minimum of 20% of monthly rental charges for a period of 3 months covering either April to June or July to September 2020. This, Mr. Speaker, is intended to support tenants affected by the slowdown in business activity. But, Mr. Speaker, we have not forgotten those in rented accommodations. We propose offering a tax deduction to landlords of 20% of the monthly rental value for a period of 6 months. In effect, Mr. Speaker, a tenant who pays a monthly rent of $1,000 may now have their rent reduced to $800, and the landlord can claim an amount of $200 per month for that period. A waiver of taxes on interest earnings of financial institutions from loans to micro-enterprises. Mr. Speaker, the intention of this initiative is to encourage our financial institutions to provide needed capital to small and micro-enterprises through approved financial products for a period of 3 years, commencing July 2020. EC $3.5 million has been allocated to this initiative.
So there you have it, some relief on taxes, a 50% waiver on commercial property taxes for the period 2019 to 2020 to landlords who extended moratoriums of a minimum of 20% monthly rental charges for the period of 3 months. Also proposing to offer a tax deduction to landlords of 20%, that's for rented accommodation, 20% of the monthly rental value for a period of 6 months. In effect, Mr. Speaker, he indicated here, again a quote, a tenant who pays a monthly rent of $1,000 may now have to have their rent reduced to $800, and the landlord can claim an amount of $200 per month for that period. I know, Carlton, a lot of individuals were querying what relief is being given to individuals who've been affected, perhaps tenants who've been affected by the COVID-19 situation, laid off, and they are now subject to the landlord who's asking for the rent. And we're hearing from the Honorable Prime Minister that they are proposing in the appropriation bill for 2020-2021 a tax deduction to landlords of 20% of the monthly rental value for a period of 6 months. Also, in addition, we're going back to business owners. A provision of $500,000, he indicated, was being made to Bell Fund to capitalize this institution to respond to the needs of the micro business sector. He did indicate that he recognizes in these times a number of skilled persons are out of employment and are desirous of starting a business. And we're seeing a lot of businesses emerging. We've even had a few individuals come to the GIS studios, showing their wares, the business that they now have to offer after being perhaps laid off from not having any opportunities at this time, creating their opportunities themselves. So the government of St. Lucia is looking to boost the efforts of individuals who want to start small businesses due to the effects of COVID-19. The Bell Fund boost of $500,000 it's all meant to provide an initial startup capital for the individuals who are desirous of starting such businesses. Another point to note in terms of stimulating the economy, increasing the subsidy on bulk flour to bakers from $12 to $17 per bag. He did indicate that bakers are part of the National Food Security Program, and they have continued to feed the nation throughout the crisis. This provision is meant to stabilize the baking sector and alleviate cash flow. Also on the stimulating of the economy, a provision of inputs and related items to the agricultural sector to stimulate the domestic demand and strengthen food security. Waiver of duties and related charges on importation of personal hygiene supplies for the period July to December 2020. Also part of this response, this economic recovery and resilience plan, is strengthening social protection systems. The Prime Minister did have a list of ways in which he proposes the government will be able to protect the vulnerable, ease off on residents in St. Lucia at this time, considering the effects of COVID-19. Take a listen.
Our government will embark on the following specific measures in this fiscal year. To strengthen the social and protection system. 1, a reduction in the electricity fuel surcharge, Mr. Speaker. The fuel surcharge of $1 will be reduced by 50 cents for a 6-month period. This is expected to generate savings which will be used to reduce the electricity bills of qualifying households between $50 and $100 per month. Expansion of the public assistance cash transfer program from 2,600 households to 3,600 households. Increase in the Child Disability Grant from $200 to $300. Increase in the grant for persons living with HIV from $100 to $200. Increase in the grant for children to foster care from $200 to $300. Provision of a COVID-19 hygiene care package for the poor and vulnerable. Microfinance loans to households to diversify into small enterprise and cottage industries. Small infrastructure projects within the rural communities. Mr. Speaker, further details on the administrative arrangements for these measures will be communicated very shortly.
The Prime Minister also spoke on fast-tracking shovel-ready capital investment projects. We have spoken about this extensively, even having the economist from the Economic Development Unit Department speaking to us on the medium-term development strategy, using construction to stimulate the economy as well. The Prime Minister also did indicate this. And one surprise, I should say, added to this, to the budget address yesterday was an announcement that essential service staff would be getting some sort of, they would be assisted at this time, and this would be in the form of duty-free concessions. We go to this clip of the Prime Minister making this announcement for our frontline workers, our essential staff at this time, who have had to deal with some discrimination in some cases. Their own sacrifice has to be taken into consideration, and I think many persons will be pleased to hear of this duty-free concession opportunity for essential service staff. Take a listen.
These workers faced immense challenges in carrying out their duties, and it was painful to note that essential service staff, nurses, police officers, firemen, and firewomen were profiled when taking public transportation, and in many instances were turned away from buses in their uniforms. To that end, our government has taken the decision to provide duty-free concessions on vehicles for a stipulated period of time to essential service staff who've been employed for more than 5 years within the public service. The details of this measure will be finalized after further consultation with the relevant stakeholders.
That was the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Alan Chasney. Also, there are duty-free concessions being offered to 100% duty-free concessions being offered to taxi operators for the next 2 years, and that's on vehicles, and that is also being extended to the public transport sector. Take a listen to the announcement of the Honorable Prime Minister.
Our taxi drivers who service the tourism sector have been hard hit by the impact of COVID-19. We've been working closely with the sector on new protocols, and they're also eligible for government's income support program. In addition, the government will be offering 100% duty-free concessions on vehicles for taxi operators over the next 2 years. Our government is also mindful that bus drivers have been struggling amidst the pandemic, and the 100% duty waiver will also be extended to our island's bus drivers.
These are just a few of the announcements being made by the Honorable Prime Minister in his budget address. The appropriations bill for 2020-2021 being forwarded, tabled in the House yesterday during Parliament. Of course, the information is quite extensive. We will be going in depth with the budget address of the Prime Minister as the next few days go on. Our various news cycles, you will be hearing of the various pronouncements made by the Honorable Prime Minister, but just putting forward some of the outstanding ones this morning. Please take note of these pronouncements. I describe them as fortuitous disclosures. You know, a lot of individuals, the taxi sector, the public transport sector, these individuals were all on standby waiting for what the Prime Minister, the government of Saint Lucia had to offer, especially those who have endured much difficulty in these critical times due to COVID-19. Some individuals weren't working at all. You know, and in addition to a lot of the work that has been done under the social stabilization plan for these affected individuals in terms of the economic relief for the income support under the NIC, as well as for non-NIC contributors as well, or the moratoriums that have been offered, the breaks on utility bills. In addition to all of that, we're hearing of the new opportunities, the new benefits that the government of St. Lucia is looking to provide to stimulate the economy. So while it's providing assistance to those who are in need, it is also working on stimulating our economy, fast-tracking shovel-ready investment, capital investment projects, strengthening the social protection system. The Prime Minister indicated reduction in electricity fuel surcharge. If you didn't catch that, the fuel surcharge of $1 will be reduced to 50 cents for a 6-month period. And this is expected to generate savings, which will be used to reduce electricity bills by qualifying households by between $50 and $100 a month. Expansion of the public assistance cash transfer program, increase in child disability grant from $200 to $300, increase in the grant for persons living with HIV, increase in the grant for children in foster care, a provision of COVID-19 hygiene care packages for the poor and vulnerable, microfinancing loans, small infrastructural projects within the rural community, all aimed. These are social protection initiatives, but all stimulating the economy at the same time within this COVID-19 reality that we're now in.
Merci tellement, Jessie. Vous avez observé les vini pour développement. Yon se bagay lan chaide nous, moi savent ka espérer en chaide nous peut-être veiller. C'est yon bagay pas de temps nous les sujets. Moi toujours quand encourager moun pour faire affaires yo. Ça y est, c'est pour coûter développement expressement yon kon budget. Pas quitter yon moun vindou, quand il bien important que c'est affaires nous ici pour faire ça. Moi je bien important dans l'autre mais pour moun trouver quoi yo est courant. Et puis ça y est, à panique espérer pour information ça arrive parce que on savent yon manière ban l'autre depuis arrive et kaini en dan qui hatié en dan ou pas tant mais qui toujours bon. Moi savent c'est yon bagage chay moun pas même fait mais c'est yon qui bon. Quand commencer bon matin mais c'est qu'on nous bien dit nous premier ministre qui a présenté budget en kai concite budget ça c'est pour l'année ça pour aller l'année 2021 et puis là quand j'ai cité dit et plus bonheur nous avons un budget à peu près budget là c'est à peu près 1 690 100 000 312 800 $. Ça c'est à peu près budget là ça y est qui bien important pour nous ça pas du temps nous ka parler sur budget là qui ça qui en dit dans budget là yon ces bagay là nous vieux qu'attend constant l'année pour faire budget là c'est qui ça premier ministre et gouvernement qu'a fait by moun expressement en covid. Ça c'est yon ces bagay là nous a parlé de ça ici et puis nous devons espérer pourtant qui ça qui plan gouvernement et puis là en bas les vini pour plan pour recouvert économique pays et puis résilience là en bas plan ça nous kaywe yon de bagay vini en clarté ben nous te parlé de hier et puis là on attend encore les vini pour plan gouvernement a dit yo kay attaquer dans 3 phases. Ces phases là stimuler l'économie, l'autre là fait assurer yo mettez bagay en place. Deuxième phase là mettez investissement en place. Projet qu'on nous kaywe ces projets ça kay encourager l'économie pour développer pour via sous pied qu'on nous a dit et puis troisième c'est pour bail kouay pour enchaîner ces système oui ces système social là protection pour système social nous ka parler pour monde qui plus vulnérable l'école bagay mettez bagay en place bail pays et puis là, il vient pour stimuler l'économie. Il y a une provision, Premier ministre l'a parlé à celui-là. C'est là, il vient pour adaptation pour temps. Et puis là, il dit, il a fait provision pour l'argent américain, 3,1 millions de $. Il a point, ça c'était l'argent qui était hani là. Et quand chai en ça, il a point, et il a tourné en loan et puis grant. Ça veut dire ou kay sa accès ça ou kay sa hen font ça dans l'Oneba Grant et puis ça kay $5,000 pour $25,000 et ça c'est pour petit business ou qui ni un petit business c'est type place là qui a conducté business c'est enterprise c'est place ça yo kay hen assistance ça et puis gouvernement a dit yo kay mette $3,1 million pour raison ça et puis yo vle attention à sous sécurité manger et puis là vini pour ka développer technologie là yo kay fait ça ou kay ça accesser ben moun kay ça hen fond ça hard bank development Saint Lucia et pour déjà yo ka dit à peu près 1,200 pour 1,500 ti place ti business enterprise c'est place ça kay bénéfice ka wete en bas les vini pour stimuler économie nous kay ouais deuxième provision qui fait en bas plan ça c'est les vini pour moun qui besoin assistance moun qui besoin l'argent et puis c'est requirement ça expressement ou qui trouve quoi avec business qui trouve quoi yo affecté en bas COVID-19 la administration a dit par Banque Développement Saint Lucia encore l'année allocation de $5 millions ici pour ça l'argent nous et puis ça c'est pour assister moun qui trouve quoi yo directement expressement c'est petit business c'est place ça qui trouve quoi yo affecté directement as a result du COVID c'est moun ça qui expecté pour ouais yo ça une allocation là et puis provision c'est fait pour $5 millions ici ça c'est là nous et puis moun kaisa henza hod banque développement Saint Lucia ça expecté pour bénéfice à prix 350 moun en l'autre qu'on nous calendrier qu'on nous dit c'est un chay information mais un chay dit nous calé et nous ka ba ou parmi plan et nous ka parler sur plan gouvernement là ka tomber en bas pour stimuler l'économie qu'on nous ka ouais assistance pour petit business assistance hard banque développement Saint Lucia là vini pour moun qui ni pour payer taxe et puis nous ka parler propriétaire taxe commercial nous ka yo ka dit 50% yo ka bay ces moun ça en soulagement qu'on nous veut dire là vini pour l'année ça quand on ka yo 10 000 ça on ka payer ça c'est pour ces gens commercial là propriétaire taxe commercial 50% ça est 10 000 yo ka bay moun ki ni kay ka loué c'est moun ça kay hen et puis yo kay hen moratorium ça nous te parle en chayan les ça qui kay 20% tous les mois les vini pour 3 mois et puis ça kay couvert avril pour juin et ben juillet pour septembre et puis ça c'est pour assister moun aussi qui trouve quoi yo affecté et puis business pas qu'on normal quoi plutôt pour qu'à payer 100% on nous dit bill ça les venir pour qu'à payer taxe pour ces gens qui a loué gens commercial c'est moun ça qui payer 50% nous peut dire 10 000 ça yo te ka payer là aussi dit yo pas oublier c'est moun qui a loué accommodation a fait pour en déduction les venir pour ou qui ni ka loué il dit 20% tous les mois à sous valeur pour en 6 mois quoi c'est 20% c'est moun sa ka hen yo ka dit ça c'est pour moun qui te ka payer peut-être $1,000 par mois ou ka une réduction de $200 quand on ka payer $800 et puis là ou vini pour ou qui ka loué quand yon landlord ou qui met place ça yo ka dit ou ça clamer ça ou ça clamer $200 ça par mois pour un temps pour temps 3 mois qui c'est moun pas payer l'argent ça taxe les mini pour taxe c'est clanté ou en les taxes pour en ces institutions ça et puis petit business attention la premier ministre a dit c'est pour encourager ces institutions ça pour bail un petit taxe assistance pour ces petits business là et puis a approuvé là les mini pour l'autre 3 l'année qui a commencé en bout juillet 2020 ça c'est l'année ça à peu près $3,5 millions j'ai alloqué pour ça. Nous avons l'autre $10 millions, ça c'est $500 000. Yo jamais été ça belle fund et ça c'est pour assister petit business encore en ce secteur ça qui a reconnaissé les vini pour un chay moun qui ni talent, chay moun, qui ni intention, et puis les vini pour ça qui a affecté en yon manière ben l'autre. Le gouvernement a dit, il veut bailler employment, il veut encourager ça, et que ça va chay ti business, pas ni, ti pour ça de l'an yo besoin, ti assistance ça, quand là, yo ka bail bel fund, $500,000, $10 millions, et puis ça là, yo ka kwe, ça ka encourager moun qui veut commencer ti business, parce que nous ka ouais, en chay bagay changer as a résultat di COVID. Pour ces gens qui ont fait pain, ces gens qui ont acheté farine, le gouvernement a dit qu'ils ont assisté de venir pour prix en 5 fan France. Ils ont dit à présent, ils ont sorti, ils ont fait assistance là $12. À présent, ils ont monté pour $17. Quand nous avons $5, le gouvernement a bail subsidie ça. Et puis encore, ils ont dit c'est pour sécurité et manger. Expressement dans quoi 6. C'est ça nous ni à présent mon l'argent quand yo ka dit ça ka été pour juste juillet pour bout mois ça décembre encore aller venir pour secteur agricole pour stimuler le secteur ça et puis pour faire assurer la et puis pour développer dans pandémie dans temps qu'on à présent il y a en quantité de $7.96 millions déjà alloqué pour initiative ça les venir pour agricole encore il a jamais été ça 7 millions point 96 aller pour initiative ça. Parmi l'autre bagaille mais c'est comme on dit en chay information nous ka wele puis yon dit Jesse et parler à suite toucher c'est les vini pour nous attendre c'est programme social là et nous ka parler de ça qui a affecté moins pour dans yon manière ben moun qui plus vulnérable parmi yo les vini en réduction nous ka les vini pour bill courant yo ka dit les vini pour fuel charge ce charge ça nous ka en réduction en dit dans ça était $1 quoi il ka descend pour 50 cents 50 il ka descend pour 10 000 yo ka couper pour 6 mois. Là, il vient pour courant encore. Là, il vient pour nous toujours parler de surcharge. Là, il vient pour ça, nous avons une réduction en 10 000. Et nous avons coupé ça et 10 000. C'était $1. Nous avons payé 50 cents. Et puis, ça, c'est pour 6 mois. Et puis, ça, nous avons expecté, ça a généré, ça a baissé bill là. Là, il vient pour ça. La condition, là, on a payé ces billes, ça, on a qualifié entre $50 pour $100 par mois. L'autre bagaille, là, il vient pour assistance là, qui a moun qui a la sexe à horde public là. Nous avons programme ça, yo ka joindre ini 2600 moun ka bénéficié les vini en bas programme assistance publique là. Nous avons ça ka augmenté pour 3600. Il a augmenté par 1 000. Maman qui infime, maman qui vulnérable, nous avons moun sa ka une assistance de $200, il a monté pour $300. Là il vient pour moun qui est pension, moun qui trouvé ko yo malade et puis bagay kon AIDS HIV, nous avons sorti 100 pour 200. Là il vient pour maman qui en bas supervision PIA, maman qui a trouvé ko yo soin par PIA, nous avons encore $200 qui a monté pour 300, il monté par 100. Et puis parmi l'autre bagaille nous avons touché vitement là il vient pour ces taxi driver et puis ces minibus là nous premier ministre là parler de ça qui ça qui la bail c'est moun ça là nous premier ministre là a reconnaît travail web là c'est Jean essential service là j'ai fait et puis pour date il a dit les venir pour ces moun ça et puis pour manière yo fait travail yo expressement bas Covid ou kay savent ces moun ça nurse police officier police c'est Jean Popier et puis ces femmes là c'est moun ça il dit yo fait un bon travail mais aussi nous avons pour ces transport il a dit le gouvernement Japon en décision pour bailler ces moun sa concession à son machine yo et puis ça kay pour moun qui travaille et puis service essentiel là et puis ou ni pour un employé pour plus passer 5 années en secteur détail là yo kay bali pour finaliser ça. Ça c'est encore pour ces gens qui travaillent en secteur travail essentiel qui directement affecté les vini pour ça. En chaque information moi encore nous ka aller puis nous ka essayer ba ou yonde bon matin qu'on dit Jesse dit qu'on si maintenant ka aller nous ka ba ou en détail pli information plan gouvernement ça yo ka fait les vini pour vier mettre économie vier pays à sous pied et parler de ça nous ka parler en l'autre secteur qu'on nous bien ouvert nous ka tandi les vini pour ces driver taxi nous ka aussi yo trouvé quoi yo impacté en yon manière ben l'autre as a résultat du Covid qui ça gouvernement ka fait il ka dit yo ha ka travailler puis yo pour mettre protocole en place et puis yo ka bay ces moun ça addition pour ça gouvernement kay fait yo ka bay ces moun ça 100% concession lay vini pour machine pour taxi driver ça c'est pour l'autre l'année ça c'est pour l'autre l'année 100% à son machine expressement ça c'est ces gens taxi il a dit aussi gouvernement ça lay vini pour ces gens qui a fait transport ces gens minibus là c'est moun ça yo aussi trouvé quoi yo affecté yo kay 100% aussi et puis c'est moun ça kay hen bénéfice en yon manière et ben l'autre nous savons chaque information mais nous ka croire nous a touché à so yon de ça qui pli moun ka espérer pour tant et puis plan gouvernement expressement qu'on nous attend gouvernement ka parler de vieux mettre économie à sous pied quoi nous ka ouais nous quoi nous a touché à so yon de nous ka fait pli nous ka demander pour waiter en écoute et puis nous pli pour venir monsieur quand nous ka discuter budget et qui manière allocation faite et ces différents secteurs qui kay trouvé ko yo affecté merci tellement pour ka waiter nous ni plus information Jesse.
Thanks for that, Carlton. Of course, we've just gone through a small extent of the Prime Minister's address yesterday. We just spoke about the social protection measures. Basically, the economic response, the economic recovery and resilience plan of the government of Saint Lucia in response to COVID-19. And as we saw with the budget address and also with the estimates delivery, it's all centered around COVID-19. This pandemic has been hard hitting. Saint Lucia's lifeline is the tourism sector, and that was flattened due to the global lockdown, the global restrictions that emerged to protect the various districts and territories globally. And so at this time, we do hope that you could stay tuned during the course of the week. We will be going in depth to discuss all of the aspects of the Prime Minister's delivery yesterday, expanding food production locally, food security. That issue came up and how they're going to further address it. Citizen security. He did speak earlier on the Safe City CCTV project. And of course, if I could just go back to some of the things he mentioned, the installation of cameras in 56 sites in Castries, 20 sites in Vieux Fort, 29 sites in Grosley, and 10 license plate recognition sites, all at undisclosed locations. That aspect we will go in depth with as well. Education realignment and transformation, building renewable energy capacities here in St. Lucia, and also the disclosure of the CIP. The contribution that this program has brought to us is in the sum of $131.2 million. And so all of these we will be getting into in the coming weeks, but just highlighting some of the, I think, the aspects of the delivery that the common man can appreciate at this time, especially with the social protection initiatives, the immediate economic recovery and resilience efforts of the government of St. Lucia. We are due for a break. We're overdue for a break, just rounding up this delivery of the budget address delivery yesterday. Stay tuned. When we come back, we have more updates from the government of St. Lucia. Due for a break.
We at war with a virus, ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together.
Often use hand sanitizer. Better yet, use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. A
avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up, no, no.
Advice give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for Saint Lucia. Together let us win this war. Saint Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, you missed out on quite a bit in terms of the review, our look back on the budget address, the appropriation bill for 2020-2021 being tabled in the House by Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, the Honorable Alan Chasney. Talking about the response to COVID-19, we'll have to begin to recover economically as well as building resilience going forward to the effects of COVID-19 here in St. Lucia. Tourism, which was our mainstay, was flattened due to the onset of COVID-19, and the government is trying its utmost best at this time to see how we can stay afloat. The Prime Minister did mention, Carlton, that the need to spend deeply, if I quote that correctly, the need to spend deeply is essential at this time, but it is necessary. It is under the need to spend is understood because you need to resuscitate the economy. You need to stimulate the economy at this time to have persons getting by. First of all, the response, the social, the responsibility to protecting the individuals that are vulnerable at this time. The effects of COVID-19 are far-reaching, and the government of St. Lucia has to step in at this time and really dig deep into its pockets to provide initiatives, benefits, concessions.
One way or the other, and Jesse, just to go a step further, again, it makes mention to, or it brings back to focus what we have been aiming to do here in terms of bringing in the economics of it all. I mean, what do you do in a situation like that? And the reality still remains. I mean, St. Lucia is not unique. We're not in a bubble. And if we look on a global scale, what is happening, everybody, one way or the other, governments are scrambling to see allocate resources one area or another. And while we are saying we are in a pandemic, economically we know we are being affected. And if we could quote, was it Chief Economist in the ministry, Tommy Descartes, and he was saying, what is the intention, the resilience plan, the plan of government to stimulate the economy? What is the intention behind it? And the whole idea of, okay, while you do this, you have to do it so that everybody else could be affected in one way or the other.
Benefit.
So you have the social protection. We're talking about, Jesse, a reduction. What would that do for you? A reduction of half of the surcharge. You know, what does that do for one? For households now, Jesse, let's just say involved in business, the access to funding, giving that amount to Bell Fund, $500,000 with persons willing to start up. You know, the most difficult thing to come up with is the financing, that capital finance. You know, so across the board, it's a lot to digest, but, you know, we cannot just lie down and play possum and expect something will happen. Of course, everywhere else is suffering, and it's good to see at least, Jesse, we have the proposed plan when it comes to our resilience to weather, also taking that into consideration. So yes, I mean a peek, a window into where this government is going and what they are doing, at least, you know, persons could be aware and say what is happening and how it's happening. Much welcome news, I guess, for the taxi and the minibus association. We had them here. So, I mean, it's left to see, and it's left to, you know, for us to see how this will affect the economy.
As well as the essential service workers who will now have the 100% duty-free concessions on vehicles for a certain period of time. Again, all things we've gone over for the morning. We won't spare any more time on the parliamentary proceedings. We have to move on. Time does not permit it. The Saharan Dust Advisory, we have a statement from the Ministry of Health. Of course, we know the Saharan Dust can affect individuals who are prone to respiratory illnesses. And if you felt the need to not wear the mask before, certainly you would have to wear it now, because going to certain areas, the dust is so thick, the Saharan, the plume of Saharan dust, its effect is so strong on certain individuals who are prone. So we have an address from the Ministry of Health. Take a listen, digest, and when we come back, we discuss.
Over the past few days, some of us are experiencing the unusual accumulation of dust on our vehicles or on other outdoor objects. The Saint Lucia Meteorological Services informed the Ministry of Health and Wellness of the passage of the Saharan dust over Saint Lucia, and this explains the increasing dust observed in our environment. Saharan dust could pose some health problems for persons with significant illnesses. Persons with dust allergies can experience worsening of their symptoms with itching of the eyes, nose, and throat, while persons with respiratory illnesses like asthma or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, can have increasing frequency and severity of cough, chest tightness, and difficulty breathing. These symptoms may be severe enough to increase the number of visits to healthcare facilities. Persons undiagnosed with respiratory illnesses like asthma may develop symptoms. We should take protective measures like avoiding unnecessary and strenuous outdoor activities over the next few days. Always have a supply of your allergy and asthma medication at hand, and if your symptoms are worsening, do see your doctor or go to the nearest respiratory clinic established across the island. In the context of COVID-19, the ministry encourages the public to continue practicing the protocols of cough etiquette, wearing of masks, hand hygiene, and physical distancing as we try to limit or prevent the spread of COVID-19. The Ministry of Health and Wellness encourages all to stay safe at this time.
That was Medical Officer of Health, Mr. Glenford Joseph, speaking to us on the passing of the plume of Saharan dust coming to our side of the world. Of course, the health implications are there. It is a reality that we're facing, but thankfully we have built up a certain level of capacity for individuals who have respiratory illnesses. We have the respiratory clinics, we have the respiratory hospital, formerly Victoria Hospital, the capacity to deal with individuals who may be overcome by the effects of the passing of the Saharan dust. It is there, thankfully. Not by any good means. We've had the onset of COVID-19 that we've had to contend with and to build resilience for and build capacity for. However, if individuals are experiencing any worsening or exacerbated symptoms of any respiratory illness they may have due to the Saharan dust, you are asked to visit a respiratory clinic for your own health and safety at this time. Visit a clinic to ensure that the exacerbated, the increased coughing, or whatever respiratory problems that you might have that have been brought on by the Saharan dust isn't life-threatening and can be treated easily. We continue this morning with a word from the Ministry of Education. We now hear from the Chief Education Officer, Dr. Fiona Philip Meyer, and she's speaking on the countdown to common entrance. I know there has been a sort of deflating of that high anticipation, every year for common entrance. The kids are getting ready, and the media is going to the schools, speaking to the kids, the nerves, the jitters, and we're not hearing as much of it as usual because, of course, the onset of COVID-19, the restructuring of the education system at this time. But we do wish all of the students who are preparing for common entrance all the best of luck at this time, and we do hope that you are excited to sit your examination and prepared for a favorable outcome. We go to now the Chief Education Officer, Dr. Fiona Philip-Meyer, speaking on that countdown.
We are privileged to be able to offer our common entrance examination on June 29th, and we, along with the other regional partners, are having our CXC examinations commencing July 13th. We have been also allowed an extension in terms of SBA submissions, so the deadline is the 30th of June. And so we're very glad that our teachers have been able to support students in terms of completion of SBAs, because that forms a significant part of their grades this academic year. And so it is still an opportunity for parents to support their children in the event there are any outstanding work to be completed and submitted before the deadline of June 30th.
Getting ready for major exams, of course, there's some level of apprehension, both on the part of students and parents. Any words of reassurance, any tips?
Well, as a parent myself, I've got two daughters, they're 22 and 24 now. I know that there is a level of anxiety, as would have been around this time of the year. We should have had common entrance on June 10th. This year, it is happening on June 29th. We want to reassure our parents that everything is in place in terms of health and safety protocols, so they need not worry about that. And the fact that our schools have come off in terms of bringing back the students into the physical environment is testimony to that. Again, hats off to our schools, our administrators, our teachers. But more so to the point of the students, particularly our younger ones going into common entrance. We want to say to our parents, remain calm with them. Affirm them, reassure them, speak to their ability, speak to their skill. We do not want common entrance to be a threat to them, but more an opportunity for them to really show their potential. And as we continue to say, find time as a family to do a relaxing activity prior to common entrance. If you're a spiritual family, you want to pray with your child, you want to give them little tips to go into the examination, being reassured that this is one opportunity. There will be other opportunities for them to excel, but we want to let our parents know that we want the engagement to be positive, really positive for our young ones going into common entrance. And that is the main message. We know they've done their work. We know that they've had support from their teachers, from their parents, but we want them as they go into the examination rooms to feel calm, to do little breathing exercises, to again affirm them before they leave the house for that day. And we are there to
Fiona Philip-Meyer there, the Chief Education Officer, speaking on the countdown to common entrance, and that is scheduled for the 29th of June. It was initially scheduled for the 10th of June prior to the onset and the disruptions of COVID-19, but it's been rescheduled. A date they've settled on a date, June 29th, and at this time the students, the teachers, parents with fingers crossed are all hoping that when their kids sit that exam on the 29th of June, they will go forward and do their best. And hopefully we get some good news in July, I hope. So that they're coming from the Chief Education Officer. Prior to that, if you're just joining us, we're hearing from the Ministry of Health and Wellness about the effects of the Saharan dust at this time. If you haven't seen, you might feel and have your airways affected a little bit. We have the Saharan dust, that plume of dust coming over us, our part of the world, and it's some persons have been reporting some difficulties with that situation right now, and we're hearing from the Ministry of Health and Wellness to visit a respiratory clinic. Thankfully, we have the respiratory clinics, we have the respiratory hospital. Should individuals conditions, respiratory illnesses, the conditions that they have, whether it be COPD, asthma, what have you, if it is exacerbated due to the Saharan dust, you can visit a doctor, you could visit one of the respiratory clinics to ensure that the aggression is not life-threatening, or if so, it can be treated as soon as possible. Carlton?
Tellement comme ça, Jessie. Quand nous continuons ici à mercredi bon matin ka ba ou information ou ka savent là nous ka parler de l'année pour faire puis la poussière ça Saharan la poussière Saharan ka sorti hot Africa descend tous les l'année bon ça nous ka la poussière ça les airs pour yon raison et ben l'autre nous ka c'est comme si dit ouais coup ça nous ka ouais plus mauvais eh ben là nous j'attends hot monsieur Joseph yon qui a travaillé puis département santé et là il a dit nous quand espérer la poussière ça a passé et puis nous attend hot office meteorological là et puis il a informé ministre santé là il venu pour la poussière qui a passé là en Saint Lucia et puis un chaimoun qui a observé ça a tombé sur une machine nous dehors sur une différents articles dehors qui il sali et puis la poussière un chai de nous aussi souvent les airs c'est comme si la pluie a tombé mais c'est la poussière et puis yon ces bagay là yo vle informer nous là vini pour ça c'est moun ça commencer ouais problème ministère a dit santé a dit moun kay ouais comme si dit ouais yo commencer ka goiter gorge yo nez yo ka estionner et raison pour ça c'est parce que la poussière ça en les airs si ou ni un problème déjà il a fait plus mal quoi yo ka do sous observer date qui ou ka goiter gorge ou ka goiter zéro néon ça veut dire ou ka trouver qu'on affecté as a résultat de la poussière ça en parmi bagay qui habay jid qui habay par ministère et puis yo ka do moun qui ni solution moun qui ni COPD ça c'est moun qui ni problème ka expirer ka prend l'expiration yo ka do ou peut-être ka comme si dit ou ka tout fait ou ka comme si dit les vini pour chou l'estomac ou le corps là ka vini pli serré yo ka do comme ça changer si ou ça ka fait yo ka do prend remède si ou ka vini plus mauvais yo ka mando souple aller visiter yon ces clinique là comme exercice ka di plus bonheur bon bagay lancé as un résultat de Covid ou ka yon chay ces clinique là yo active et puis yo en place pour traiter quand yo ka do protocole là toujours mais changer sous ka expérience pièce sans ces difficultés ça souple aller en yon en ces clinique là trouver traitement pour ça parce que as a résultat dit la poussière ça ou kaywe ko ek moun ka expériencer maladie yo especially sou havonwab ou kaywe ka vini pli mal en l'eau souple zowe pa ka rouper tête et c'est pour ça ministère ka encourager ou public là ou qui ka expériencer ça souple pas dit on ka suivre protocole quand je suis bien dit encore il y en a ces bail là nous ka qui ka bien assister là vini pour vous qui peut-être pas aimer mettre masque là et c'est un bon raison à présent pour vous péni masque là là ou dehors là yo ka ministère ka faut changer encore sous pani pour aller dehors il fait rien pas aller sous pani pour aller travail ouais dehors et ben travail en la cour changer pas aller parce que ça en ka mener bagay plus mal baou ka continuer baou développement yon ces bagay lan chay pawan moun kousa moi ça met comment bracket ça nous kay ish nous kay fait examination les vini pour CXC les vini pour common entrance et quand chay parler était en bon air les covid commencé ça c'était yon ces questions nous attend et moun te ka mandé et ben à présent nous j'en date là qui a dit c'est mamay ça kay trouvé ka fait common entrance yo li 29 mois ça li 29 qu'on a déjà ou kaywe choix nous jouer à plus bonheur il parlait by Mazer Maya qui c'est chef officier éducation et yon a se bay lan ka dit il c'est un yon qui différent l'année ça mais il ka encourager parents pour parler by ces mamay là nous savent les vini pour en situation quoi présent chay c'est mamay là yo ka nan pèwez en dedans yo en chay c'est mamay là yo pas confortable et puis tout ça yo expérience mais ka dit c'est mamay là ils savent yo ja travail c'est mamay là yo savent fait travail là quand on nous chaîne yo positive qu'on yo kay matcher common entrance moi crois ça c'est un bon conseil qu'a sorti département là qu'on a ou qui ni mama yo HL nous comparons nous ka vle mettre en high pressure laisser mama là Jesse et ça même c'est pas il pas des situations il y a ni ka fait c'est mama là plus paix et à pile laisser mama là bien paoué mais kon yo ka we ou de yo kon ba yon ti soulagement encourager yo en nous voyons en examination ça en dans mot positif et encore nous vie de ça kay point ici à Saint Lucia le 29 et nous ka souhaiter toute maman bonne chance et nous ka dit de pour étudier et pour mettre travail là ou kay we bon résultat quoi asu link ça me ka vie passer ba ou Jess.
Thanks for that, Carlton. Going back to the Saharan dust, I mean,
yes.
I've never seen it as bad. Have you? You're older than I am.
I'm Jesse. The age here shows, but definitely. No, Jesse, as a matter of fact, I was saying, because initially before it came to mind, I was like, but why are we so cloudy? Why are we overcast?
Yeah, like
and I say maybe it's the weather.
Yeah.
You know, and only to find out, it's like, yes, this time of year, but I have never seen it, Jesse, that thick. And experience it. I mean, literally, you could see it when you go to the vehicles outside.
Yeah.
Ou ça ouais, toute machine. Nous parler about la poussière ça. And pour yon raison pas lot Jesse moun ki ni bagay kon sinus et puis c'est bagay ça. Moi do avec moi te questionner avec moi te ka kwati pour vrai.
Yeah.
And that is why they're asking persons to stay inside. If you have some work to do, strenuous activity, you know, the dust is for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we are expecting some showers.
Yes.
Hopefully that will wash away, you know, the dust. And, you know, we probably will get a little relief from it. But it is visible, Jesse.
Yeah.
One thing I must say.
It definitely, it's always a good thing annually when we get that, those minerals and all the good stuff coming from the Saharan, the Saharan dust coming to the islands to give us some, to enrich our soil.
Yes.
You know, but at the same time, it's coming this time around, you know, very unusually strong and coming very thick this time around. So we do hope again you wear your mask if you're going out, and if not for COVID, if you didn't care to do it for COVID, risking being arrested and charged for not wearing your mask, we do hope you do so now for your own health and safety, preventing against COVID-19 and also reducing the amount of dust that gets into your airways, into your lungs at this time, especially for individuals who are you know,
asthma,
prone to, predisposed, if you have any underlying issues, asthma, COPD, all of these things, we hope that you take precaution as much as possible. We continue with this morning's updates. We're rounding up, actually. Our time is running out. We do have an update on the St. Jude's Hospital, and we know that work officially commenced in this instance with this project in November of last year. That's November 2019. And at this point, we have 7 months later, we have 70% of the project has been complete. I think that is commendable for the individuals who are working on the ground to ensure that this hospital is opened as soon as possible. We do have also a lot of persons being employed through this project, you know, almost 400 individuals. And so we'd like to, you know, commend you all for the efforts. We know the south of the island is in a dire need of this hospital in terms of improving, enhancing our healthcare delivery here in Saint Lucia. It is hoped that we can have the St. Jude's Hospital reopened. We do have an update, a video on the update of the St. Jude's Hospital. So take a listen.
So we're at the entrance of the building. That will be the main access point to the hospital from the St. Jude's Road. That's where visitors and patients will be entering the hospital. And at the entrance, once it is complete, once you enter the hospital, there'll be a very large lobby area with very high ceilings, and also reception. And servicing this reception area, we have a ramp and 2 steps that will take you from the entrance of the building to the first floor as well as the roof. This new hospital we're building, we have actually 3 buildings. We have a very large main building, and then we have 2 auxiliary buildings. The 2 auxiliary buildings, Block A and Block B, that will house dialysis and physiotherapy. The main building, which is Block C, D, E, F, and G, that's where the main hospital function will be carried out. This is a very modern hospital, and the designers went in lengths to actually make sure that we have all facilities that are available to a modern hospital. We even have a helipad on the roof, where in a case of emergency, in case any patients have to be transported by that means by air or by helicopter, it can land on the roof and that patient can be transported. We started in October, at the end of October, and right now we're probably about 80% complete. So the project, we divided the project into several phases. We have the structural phase, we have the cladding phase, we have the MEP phase. Right now we're at the structural phase, which involves just the skeleton of the building, which is columns, beams, slabs, and any other concrete structures.
In all, we have 6 components in those structures, and we subdivided the works into groups of, we have 10 subcontractors executing those works, such that we could move as quickly as possible.
I started here from the beginning. The first bar of concrete I put here, I put it. Yeah, I put that, right? And then from the time I started, I never had a problem with nobody. I moved from the building to formwork. From the formwork, Mr. Peter called me and told me he had something better for me. I asked him, what is it? And he gave me the diacetyl building. And I started the diacetyl building up to where it is right now.
Well, under the project, those contractors had their own crew. We have a steel contractor who had about 120 workers employed. Then each of the contractors may have about 15 to 20 workers employed with them. On average, we have about maybe 200 workers employed.
The original completion date for the project was, for that phase of the project, which is the structural phase, the original completion date was set at in end of May.
Since we broke the work down into several components, the work has moved quite quickly. We were ahead of schedule initially, but the COVID set us back a little bit.
We're looking at a new projected completion date of sometime in mid-July. That's for the structural phase, which is the actual skeleton of the building. Okay, once the structural phase is complete, we'll move to the second phase of the project, which is the cladding phase. And then there's another phase, which is the MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing phase. And once MEP and cladding is complete, then there comes finishing and civil works phase of the project, which is roads and the final completion of the project.
That was an update on the St. Jude's Hospital. And with that, we wrap up for the morning. We'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. Just to go over what transpired this morning, what we delivered to you this morning, the look back on the parliamentary proceedings. Yesterday, the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, the Honorable Alan Chasney, tabling the appropriation bill for 2020-2021. That is the budget address, outlining the plans of the government of St. Lucia going into this new fiscal year. And central to this address was, the effects of COVID-19, and the government of St. Lucia is moving forward into this year to recover, economic recovery and resilience at this time. And among these things is stimulating the economy, and we did hear from the Prime Minister a list of efforts to do so, among them being a 50% waiver of commercial property tax, also a tax deduction to landlords of 20% of the monthly rental value for a period of 6 months, also a waiver of taxes on interest earnings of financial institutions from loans and micro enterprises. A lot of persons were querying how will the response of the government benefit small business owners at this time. He has listed a lot of quite a few proposals in the appropriations bill as to how they will tackle that. Also fast-tracking shovel-ready capital investment projects, as well as strengthening the social protection system. Just to go over quickly, reduction in the electricity fuel surcharge, expansion of the public assistance cash transfer program from 2,600 households to 3,600 households, increase in the disability grant, the persons living with HIV grants, the children in foster care, that grant is from 200 to 300, provision of COVID-19 hygiene care packages for the poor and vulnerable in our society, microfinance loans to households to diverse micro, small enterprise and cottage industries, as well as small infrastructure projects within the rural community. And also news coming for persons working within the essential service staff are being provided with duty-free concessions on vehicles for a stipulated period of time. Those who have been employed with the government for more than 5 years within the public sector. The details, he did indicate, of this measure will be finalized after further consultation with the relevant stakeholders. And speaking of 100% duty-free concessions, the Prime Minister also did indicate that special concessions will be made to the taxi operators on vehicles coming into St. Lucia, and that will be for a period of time as well. And that offer is being extended to the public transport sector. So minibus operators will be enjoying a 100% concession, duty-free concessions on vehicles that they bring in to St. Lucia for a period of time. That's just a small window into the budget address that I'm giving you. As I indicated previously, we will be going further in depth in terms of what the Prime Minister has outlined, laid out for the fiscal year as we go into the week and into the week in review. Also look out for the Parliament Roundup that I host. It will be coming out at the end of the delivery within Parliament, this convening of Parliament this week, and we'll be looking at the highlights of Parliament, what is being offered to individuals, to businesses at this time as we try to recover and build resilience from the onset of COVID-19. Again, thank you so much for watching today. We have the funeral service, the official funeral service being hosted by the government of St. Lucia for the late Joyce Auguste. And just to let you know, that will be held this afternoon at 2 p.m. The service will be held at the Minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception. However, it will be simulcast at the following churches. That is the Sacred Heart RC Church at Marsha, Our Lady of Fatima, Leclerc, the St. Joseph the Worker Church in Grosselet, the Church of the Purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary in Labrie. So in keeping with the protocols that have been established for COVID-19, not everyone will be able to go to the service at the Minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception, and you could go to one of these churches if they're closer to you, especially so. You could go and pay your last respects to this cultural icon who contributed so significantly to the richness that we enjoy, that is St. Lucia's heritage. So, Carlton, any final words on your end?
Definitely, Jesse, merci. Encore, quand nous venons à bout programme, parmi bagay nous anik vitement ou kaitan et puis ou que si ou te kave ou kay qui jouer, là vini pour l'hôpital Saint-Jude, nous avons un rapport là kamouche qui ça l'hôpital là kay sam là fini pour la peine yo parler bay c'est travail c'est bon là information qui bay c'est l'hôpital là 70% déjà presque fini. Là vini pour ça c'est building même mais là il vient pour yo ka gagner et puis ça qu'il fait vraiment semble l'hôpital avec mettez courant et puis courir dans ça même pour fini en parmi bagay yo dit qui change de c'est covid et yo dit yo te ha travail et puis yo te ha devant mais ça change de quand une bonne nouvelle vous savez date que l'hôpital là presque là 60% a presque là et là l'hôpital là fini qu'il y a à peu près 90 moun qui ça HB capacité là en vieux fort. L'autre ba évitement nous mener pour attention les temps qui kay point coup nous cadeau pour vous qu'on savent l'année protocole nous ka faut savent les venir pour vous ka attendre ou ça ouais ou ça suivre les temps à sous NTN et puis c'est différent l'église catholique là kay jouer les temps même kay point quoi disait là l'église catholique Castuia et puis là où ça aussi ouais marchand l'église catholique marchand là il vini pour Gros-Îlet où ça ouais là aussi là il vini pour Laboui où ça ouais là aussi et puis Lac-Léry quand on savent raison pour ça c'est parce que là il vini pour Covid ou pas ça ni en chaque monde ka combler ensemble quoi tout fait qu'on informer ou qui voulait participer ou ça fait ça. Encore nous avons point précaution ou ça la poussière doit la suite protocole et encore nous avons les vini pour ou ka mener ko ou ka commencer puis ko pour protéger corps et puis pour empêcher vermine suivre lang moi ma oui pour yon raison ban l'autre ma have mais nous gardons protection ka commencer puis corps là vini pour ka faire assurer ou suivre protocole ni un bon journée tellement et toujours un plaisir pour nous et puis nous.
Absolutely. Again, suivre protocol. C'est ça, oui.
Yeah.
Follow the protocols. Wear the mask. If you were apprehensive before when going out wearing the mask, do so now. The dust is really thick, and I don't have any pre-existing condition, asthma or anything like that, and I could feel the dust as I breathe in. So do take all precaution to protect yourself, protect your kids, protect your family. Make sure everybody is doing what's right at this time and what is safe at this time. We want to come on the other end of this COVID-19 situation, on the other end of the Saharan dust effects. We want to come out on the other end better than before. So again, we do hope you do have a wonderful day. Unfortunately, we do have the situations with the Saharan dust and whatnot, but we do hope that you protect yourself. The funeral this afternoon, the official funeral service for the late Joyce O'Geese will be held. We do hope you could tune in live on NTN, channel 122 for that funeral service. You could also watch via our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, so you could join in as we pay our last respects to her. My name is Jessie Leonce Carlton Cyril. On behalf of the entire production team, we are signing off for now. Do enjoy the rest of it. Stay tuned for more NTN programming.